I know, you've heard the news. Blizzard is taking yet another step back from Starcraft 2. And yes, I'm a grown-up. I understand the reasons why. But still, we're not going gently into the night. Because profitability aside, this remains the best RTS out there. And we're going to celebrate that for as long as we can. So that said, this better be a wicked series. No pressure, guys. And game number 1's going to play out on a map called Pillars of Gold. A map that is most notable for the complete lack of pillars of any kind. But if it did have pillars, I am sure they would be chock full of gold. Say, let me ask you, have you heard of this Terran player from Australia currently playing for Mindfreak? No? Well, I haven't Seither!
Current world rank 74.
Our Protoss player is a blunt-ended surgical instrument. He is Probe!
Current world rank 98.
You've probably guessed it. We're looking at a showdown between the number 1 and number 2 player of Australia. It's their top Terran versus their top Protoss. It's the Thunder Down Under. After the Overmind killed their parents, they were raised by koala bears and wallabies. Until that pivotal event occurred in their backstory, upon which they were brothers no more, but sworn enemies. All kidding aside, these two guys hit each other an awful lot. They know each other's regular strats very well. So Protoss is going to expand to his natural, but he's planted all of his buildings up in his main. Tight. You get that little extra speed, but you don't get that wall off. Terran opens with a Reaper expand. He's going to send an SCV out ahead though to scout, just to double check that everything is copacetic. Now, as you may know, some people call Seither Seither, or some people call Seither Seither. Apparently, he's been asked on a number of occasions which is the correct pronunciation, to which his response is, "Nah, I don't care." He is a mellow dude. I guess you could say he's okay with Seither. Probe is chrono boosting an Adept, which should be ready before that Reaper arrives. He's also adding a shield battery into his main mineral line. He will get an extra layer of protection from that once it warps in, but it won't be ready in time. Oh, the Reaper does not want to go toe-to-toe with that Adept. He drops down to the natural, and there's the interception shade, which is leaving, by the way. It does look like Probe wants to counter. Yes, the Adept leaves. Protoss is going to rely on the shield battery and the upcoming Stalker for his defense. That's gutsy, but it does look like it's going to work. That is going to let him get his Adept over to the Terran base just a little bit faster. And as soon as that Reaper's chased out, Probe's going to drop a Twilight Council. Terran will not get to see that initial tech choice. Seither's factory is just about done though. Adept is here, and his early arrival is going to catch that SCV with his pants down. That's going to be a first blood. The depots are up though, so that Adept will not get inside, and a pair of reactored Marines are on the way. Warp Gate is being researched, but sans chrono boost. Here come the Marines. They're going to be looking to get control of their natural. Probe drops that safety shade. The world is about to become unsafe for teleporting mind warriors. She gets out of there, narrowly missing the inaugural mule. Oh, the Reaper snuck back inside. He got to see Blink researching on that Twilight Council. But he did not see the Dark Shrine, or that the Blink got cancelled. I love that Probe really tried to sell it by putting his chrono boost on it. It gives it that little bit of extra verisimilitude. He's also got a Robo by his natural. Terran's got a Medevac and a Widow Mine on the way, hinting at the potential for a future mine drop. The Reaper and the Hellion are going to see that Robo. That's going to make it even harder to predict that Dark Shrine. There's no eBay for Terran right now, so he better hope that he saves up some scan energy. What he does have is 2 additional Raxes. All early signs point to a Biostrat. That Medevac is out, and he sure looks like he wants to pick up that Widow Mine. I think he's just waiting for a second one to arrive. The Hellion and the Reaper are discussing the situation. Medevac is loaded, and an eBay has been started on the low ground. Which is good, because the Dark Shrine is almost complete. An empty Warp Prism is headed out. It's capable of warping in DTs, or it will be. It looks like we're going to have simultaneous harass. The ships are not going to see each other. They're traveling parallel. It's not clear yet who's going to hit first. Oh man, they're going to force me to choose who to watch. I hate this. Widow Mines and DT drops. Don't make me choose between my children. I won't do it. 2 DTs warping into the main undetected. There's a door challenge, but it's very short-lived. The DTs are going at the SCVs. They are alone. A third DT has entered the fray to cut them off. A single stalker cannot stop the boosting medevac. Mines are down and burrowing. Oh! Yeah! They're keeping pace with the DT slaughter back home. A scan lets Terran kill one DT. Probe moves in to shut down his turret. The scan has dissipated. Terran's in trouble. He does have a turret at his natural. He's going to try to lure the DTs into there. Yes, Probe overextends. He loses 2 Dark Templars, but the third manages to make it back to higher ground. Oh, and the tech lab burned down. Meanwhile, the Widow Mines have been cleaned up. No additional probe kills after the original hits. Terran is not yet invested in an armory, so those Widow Mines were visible on cooldown. It's a beam me up Scotty. That final DT actually gets away. The empty medevac does not. So who came out on top there? I think you gotta be happy if you're Protoss. The worker kills were pretty even, but Protoss saved a lot more of his stuff. Plus, the resources lost tab doesn't factor in that Terran had to give up some scans. That's a few less mules. Oh, we got a Robo Bay. Oh, and it's gonna be a have a nice day. It's gonna be a double Archon drop. That means I totally missed that Probe added in that Templar archive. What a nice follow-up. Terran's trying to execute a building swap to replace his lost tech lab. But in come the Archons. 350 of their health is all shields. And it can absolutely regenerate while they're sitting inside that warp prison. And that is why dealing with the have a nice day drop is not very nice at all. Both our players are starting +1 attack around the same time. Probe does have that Robo Bay done now as well. Protoss is just teching like mad while he's using his recycled Archons to keep the Terran busy. He's already working on that first Colossus, and he's expanding to a third. Terran's going for stim and combat shields. Good tank placement here for Seither. The problem is those Archons can take a tank hit. So Colossi are really good against stim Marines. And so I'd be worried for Seither, except that he's also mixing in tanks. And with their superior range, tanks are really good equalizers against Colossi. Mostly what I'm worried about with Seither right now is he doesn't seem to be showing any signs of taking a third anytime soon. I think he's going to try to 2-base this. But if that's the case, he's going to need to hit soon. Otherwise, Probe's just going to get too far ahead on him. Okay, here we go. Stim Pack is finishing up, and so we've got a medevac loaded up fully with Marines. Combat shields will finish as well, as will that +1. Oh, Probe's going to pick up that Zealot leg upgrade. Oh, is this medevac going to get busted by the Warp Prism? It's going to be close. No, I don't think so. I'm not 100% sure, but I think they missed each other there. That would have been good information for both players, but especially for Probe. Seither knows that Warp Prism's out there. Probe's going to trade his Archon shields for another couple of SCV kills. That's so nasty. Oh, I like this. Probe's setting up a little array of shield batteries between his natural and his third. A little forward launch pad for him to park his defense. Okay, here we go. Terran's pushing out. And the medevac is waiting for Protoss to be distracted by the main assault so it can boost into the main. Terran's got the bigger army, but the weaker economy. The pressure's going to be on Terran to get some damage done. He can't just trade out. An even exchange will mean advantage Probe. Oh, we got a scouting Marine to check the Protoss position. We gotta hate that job. Oh, he definitely verifies that Protoss has Colossi. And then Seither returns the favor to Probe's scouting Zealot. Oh, Terran's gonna pull back. He didn't like what he saw. It's a problem for him because he's losing a window. But I think he's figured out that he can't do this unless he brings his tanks. Pure Bio needs overwhelming numbers if it's gonna overpower Colossi. That or a really big cloud of medevacs to somehow keep them alive. Oh, the medevac's pulling back too. The net effect of all this is it's just additional time for Probe to be out mining his opponent. And Protoss is ahead by 16 workers now. Terran stopped building SCVs. That makes sense. He's got nowhere to put them. Probe's moving out. Since we've got the bird's eye view, we know that he doesn't really need to. Maybe his DT scout will tell him that. He's got the luxury of turtling by his shield batteries. I'm not so sure he wants to give that up. Okay, Seither's gonna try his attack again. This time he's gonna bring the tanks, and he's making Liberators behind it. That's another potential solution. If he can get his tanks and his Liberators into good position, he can bring a world of hurt. Now he's not bringing any workers to build bunkers like we see Time or Euthermal do. Oh, Probe's gonna intercept. Terran does not want to be caught on siege. He needs his mines down and a splash available. The first two Liberators will reinforce. Seither does have a position, but it's rather far back. But it's not so far back that he can't leapfrog forward. Probe sends in a DT to cause some chaos. He's gonna take out the forward tank. No, Probe saves it with a scan. Just barely. Two more DTs are gonna try to sneak in here. The scan is stale. Oh, Seither sees the ripple and drops a second scan. Those are expensive scouts for Probe. Seither continues to reinforce, and he's moving his position forward. Oh, Probe has a disruptor. Oh, he got that right in the middle of the bio. Perfect force fields as well. Terran was in motion. Not enough of the tanks and Liberators were set. Seither, though, still has the bigger army. This is going to become a battle of range. Colossi outrange the Marine Marauder, but not the siege tank. Oh, so smart. Probe has kept the force back in his main. He's anticipated the elevator attempt. Does he have enough to shut it down? He does. And you know what has a better range than a tank? A Disruptor's Nova Blast. Technically, they don't have a range. They have a duration. Oh, he just cleared out 3 mines. That was great. Seither's gonna wish he sniped that Disruptor. He's also gonna wish there wasn't a Warp Prism sneaking into his main. He sees it, but he's only got 2 Marauders and Marine to stop that warping. That's 8 Zealots coming in. Oh, a Marauder dropped into the main this time. They're really good against Stalkers. Oh, the Zealots in the Terran main have overwhelmed the defenders. And the Protoss rushes the Terran defense. There's the pullback. The Marauders are going to try to focus down the Disruptors. They've also taken control of the Terran main. Neither main is secure. Seither's forced to use his reinforcing Liberators to try to defend his main. But the slow-moving Liberators are going to be quite challenging. The Archon tanks the tank hits and the Colossi move in. No, Seither forces the pullback. Probe has that shield battery nest to fall back to. And he's mining so much more. Workers are dying for the Terran player. I think this has become a one-way trip. Protoss is adding even more gateways. Oh, Nova Shots dissecting the tanks. Probe's up to 3 Disruptors now. Seither still doesn't have complete control of his main yet. He's charging the Protoss ball. Probe falls back to the batteries. 1 Colossi falls, but the Marauders are decimated. Seither strikes the key between the F and H. And game 1 goes to our Protoss player. It's a best of 3. Probe won the Battle of Drops with his multitasking and got that sliver of an edge. He used that to get ahead and stay ahead. His extra base gave him the luxury of hanging back and forcing his opponent to come to him. And from there, his lockdown defense secured game 1. It'll be neat to see what we've got for adjustments in game 2. Adjutant, if you would, please.
Increasing Aussie savvy by 50%. The game begins now.
Is it just me, or does this map continue to bring us some of the very best games? Yes, we are on Deathara. Double rich gas geysers and acceleration zones. What's not to love? And it's game 2. In a best of 3, and that means our Terran player's either going to tie this up, or he's going to be eliminated. He could do Seither! But if he wants the Australian throne, it's time to throw down. And over at the Protoss base, we see that Probe is once again doing that tight build. His gateway's on the high ground. What is the thinking behind it? I'd like to ask him, but I don't mean to probe! There's actually another subtle impact of that build. When you keep it in that tight, you don't get the vision. But what you do get in trade-off is you're not vulnerable to getting cliffed by Terran's tanks. You've probably seen a game or two where Terran rolls their tanks up right to the base of the cliff outside the main, gets vision, and then just starts hammering all of his opponent's production facilities. This avoids that. The trade-off is your buildings are not acting like early warning radar devices. And once again, Protoss's early gate-and-go probe is going to be in position to harass the SCV building that rats. Cybercore goes down for Protoss, another very tight building. There's not a lot of room for a Reaper to move back there. And there's the Nexus, so it's core before Nexus. That's how they do it in Australia. Don't you just love my ability to generalize based on one player to an entire nation? You can't find that level of naked stereotyping just anywhere, people. That takes years of practicing unsubstantiated assumptions. But I'm proud to say it has paid off. Terran's Reaper's just about finished. That probe might want to give some thought to getting out of here. Terran's SCV comes along to admire that tight build. He's gonna see the Adept getting chrono boosted just like game 1. Oh, look at this. This is how you know these players know each other. Seither's keeping his Reaper back because he knows Probe's gonna try to sneak his worker back in. He anticipates it, he's right, and he gets a first blood for it. Well done. A nice little pickup for our Terran player. And since the SCV is departed, the Adept's not going to be able to return the favor. I mean, in no way does the game turn on it, but it's just something that I love to see. Probe is tucking that shield battery into his main just like in game 1. Oh, the Adept has intercepted the Reaper. The shade is on him. No, it isn't. The Reaper escapes, but I'm not so sure he wants to. Now he's going after the Adept. But he must know how this matchup ends for him. The Adept Shade is going to sneak into the natural. He wants a repeat of the SCV kill he got in game 1. And he got it. He only needed the single shot because his probe had worked that SCV's hit points down early on. Oh, and now his Shade's going to block the reactor squad. This Adept is a card-carrying member of the Jerk Squad. Grabs another SCV kill. Oh, Terran cannot let her get away after that. The Marines are on her. And I think that rampage, yes, has finally come to an end. But Protoss has to be happy with the value he got. And back at the Protoss ranch, we have a Stargate first, and it's building a Phoenix. Probe apparently hasn't got the memo that Void Rays are the new black. Seither appears to be setting up for another Widowmine drop. He's got 2 out, 2 more on the way, and his starport is finishing up right now. Protoss is building a second Phoenix. Usually we see that mass Phoenix play against the Zerg. I'm interested in seeing how this is going to work because Seither's probably going to go bio again. The Reaper's going to peek back inside. He'll get the scout, but he won't be able to get at any probes with that tight wall. Well, I guess he could go around the other side, but who has time for that? Oh, I see. Probe has anticipated the Widowmine drop. He's hoping to get an interception with his Phoenix. This is his adaptation from game 1 against a Terran player who thus far has not shown any indication of change. There's the Widowmine load. Seither does have 2 Widowmines on the ground that he's hoping the Phoenix will hit. He's looking to try to sneak out. I think he's actually going to make it. He does. The Phoenix has failed in its task. The second Phoenix arrives. The second Phoenix arrives to add to the blockade, but the medevac has already broken out. Though it does look like there's going to be a second medevac. This one's going to potentially be loaded with 4 mines. Probe's figured out that he's missed it. He knows the timing. He's heading back home now. Protoss has a huge investment in aerial scouting, and he is mystified. The second medevac with 4 mines is going to get away as well. That doesn't mean, though, that their drops will actually be successful. For that, we'll have to see. Oh, Probe just misses the medevac again. The first one's almost in position to hit. I think the Phoenix have given up. They're just going to go try and attack now. They'll actually hit first. They're going to use their lift energy on SCVs. The Reaper's going to try to distract at the front door. He's going to donate his life for that cause. Probe gets 3 SCV kills before the Marines chase him out. But it's double Widowmine drop time. 4 mines incoming at the main. They don't care about the tight wall. Protoss gets the probe pull, and he pulls at the natural. Only 2 kills at the natural. 0 kills at the main. He sends in a sacrificial probe so he can get vision. The Phoenix have returned for the cleanup. Both medevacs are going to get away this time. Only 3 probes lost, which is terrific, though there was a pretty significant mining disruption. But Seither's outlay was 6 mines. Oh, there's a couple more sacrificial probes here. We're up to 5 losses. I'm not sure that probe anticipated there was actually 4 instead of 2. But regardless, his observer rolls in and the stalkers clean it up. And the end result is that Probe is ahead on workers and army. His army, though, is largely Phoenix. Can he get value for that? Seither's gone for stimmed Marines. They can be pretty efficient against Phoenix. And he's adding combat shields and +1, so he is going to have that stim timing. Also, Seither did save 2 of his mines, so he's going to get another try at this. A turret in the main is going to chase those Phoenix off. While this is going on, Probe is building Colossi again. He's got a plan for that bio. It worked for him in game 1. That medevac with those 2 leftover mines is thinking about going back in again. It's impressive that Seither can attack while this Phoenix harass is ongoing. I think what Probe's really accomplishing here is he's forcing Seither to crank out far more Marines than Marauders. That's going to give him a bad balance when he goes Colossi. There, Seither's going to see the Robo Bay. This is kind of like a scouting bomb. There's the probe hole. Protoss's probe hole was perfect. He left 2 probes behind to deal with the mines. Arguably, that's the minimum damage you can take from that. And then, without missing a beat, he starts up his 3rd base. I really want to see if Seither's going to try and stay on 2 bases again this game. That sure didn't work out for him in game 1. I mean, it's not like he doesn't know about the Colossi. Oh, it's going to be a one-way trip for the medevac. Did I pose the question as to whether he'd get value for his Phoenixes? I think Probe may have answered me. Void Ray Schmoid Ray, he is doing a lot with his Phoenixes. I'm liking it more and more. I mean, if I'm Seither at this point, I'm really tempted to start putting out Cyclones to deal with this. But that's going to mess with your tank production. He has to have that to keep the Colossus back. I feel like Terran's really getting put in a box here. And the thing is, once again, Terran's got the much bigger army. It just doesn't feel like it. What is impressive for Seither here is it looks like he didn't fall for the force out all the Marines trick. He's got a really good mix of Marauders in there. And he's adding Vikings. I like that. Vikings are important for Colossi, and they could be okay against the Phoenix. You kind of need a certain critical mass though. Protoss does have 3 Colossi out, which is pretty scary, but he doesn't have a lot to escort it. That means he has to micro it perfectly. Those tin can Colossi are a lot flimsier than they look, especially to Marauder shots. The Terran push is almost here. Yeah, look what the Colossi can do to those Marines. But until the Vikings arrive, Marines are all he has to deal with the Phoenix. And Probe's actually going to add to his Phoenix count. I thought at this point he'd be transitioning out. He is making disruptors too, just as he had in game 1. That's his tank control method. 2 Nova shots can deal with the tank. Okay, the first 2 Vikings are here. That should change the dynamic a little bit. In theory, the Vikings zone out the Phoenix with their superior range, but there's just so many more Phoenix. And now they're hanging back, eating up the reinforcements. Seither's gonna go for it. Protoss will be backed by shield batteries. There is carnage. I think Terran's taking the worst of it. The Phoenix have come in to add some lifts. All 3 Colossus are still in this, but they have to keep back from the tanks. Seither's still reinforcing. He's actually brought up SCVs to help repair. The tanks are going to leapfrog forward, going to get a superior position. The disruptors are here. They're going to start, I don't know, disrupting things. Oh, but the SCVs moved to counter the disruptor damage on the tanks. And now the tanks are in range of the Nexus. That means Terran's embedded. Protoss has to come to him, and unless Probe can find some way to unentrench the Terran, that Nexus is going to fall. That is the position he wanted. Probe is responding by making a whole bunch of shield batteries. Oh, fantastic disruptor hit! He took out the bunker in production, and he got the SCVs too. That changes everything. Seither sends his Marauders in to finish off the Nexus while he still can. That is Protoss's cue to attack. Probe lifts the tanks and the Colossi are able to come in. The Viking count is too low, and backed by shield batteries, the Colossi are winning the ground game. No, I could be mistaken. The Colossi fall and Probe's got almost no army left. If you take away his Phoenix, all he's got is 1 disruptor on the ground, and that's gone. But with 6 shield batteries, does Terran have enough to push forward? This is really close. Probe is holding this together with duct tape, but he is holding. Seither's able to reinforce again. He's got a new tank coming in. There are very few Marines left to oppose the Phoenix, but the Phoenix don't have any lift energy anymore. Terran forces the cancel on the Nexus yet again. The probes are going home. Probe has an observer in the Terran base. He may be picking up on the fact that Terran is sending everything it has. Terran has not put down a 3rd. But here's the thing. Probe is putting down another 3rd, but this time at his alternate 3rd base expansion site. I'm surprised because he's still got a fortune in shield batteries at the other location. But if your opponent doesn't know you're there, I guess that's better than 1,000 shield batteries. Regardless, Terran's going home. Ah, because he is expanding. This is the transition we did not get in Game 1. By bringing his forces back, Terran has secured this location, but Probe definitely knows about it. He's got an observer in surveillance mode right there. But it just got scanned and killed. Meanwhile, look at these SCV kills. Probe has lift energy back and he means to use it. 6 SCVs die. And now he haunts the backwaters of Seither's base. Anything he can do to keep Terran in his base. Protoss' third nexus is not yet complete. Even though Protoss is up 17 workers, he's still mining less. That's the power of 3 bases to 2. Though Terran Mealing has something to do with that as well. There, the third is up now and the long distance mining comes to an end. The Phoenix are now headed back home. Oh, and Terran is pushing out. That is a beefy force. Terran has almost double the army of Protoss right now. Probe would love to slow him down or pick off some medevacs. He still has to rebuild his Colossus count. And he's adding the shield batteries to his new third. A lot of shield batteries as it happens. Seither hasn't actually figured out that he's at that base location yet. He's going to the old one. Is Probe actually building there or is he just faking it? Because now that he's got his third up and running, he's actually out mining the Terran once again. He's still way down on supply though. He wants time to rebuild that army. I think this is a fake. I think he wants Seither concerned about this expansion. Yeah, Seither sees it too. As Monty Python says, "I'm sorry, I was just deliberately wasting your time." Terran is swinging west. He wants to find where the real targets are. Oh, disruptor bolt to the heart! Oh! Seither's army supply dropped 13 in a blink of an eye. That Nova was insane. Seither is hungry for revenge. He's going up the ramp. But he pulls back when he sees a defense. He wants to set his tanks. He's got 7 of them. Well, the Phoenix are going to make it 6. And his medevac count is way down from when he started this escapade. But he will snipe that disruptor. Probe has been so good with those. Seither sees the photon overcharge. He knows he wants to wait that out if he can. There's not a lot of Protoss army up there. Not really. That army supply is principally Phoenix. But boy, are there a lot of them. He's going after the tanks with the lifts. Heck, he's going after everything with the lifts. It's a lift-a-palooza. It's 90% off all gravity. And he's bought time for a new disruptor to get in place. The tanks are in reach of that nexus. It's just that there's 4 shield batteries backing it up. The pounding is relentless. Eventually, Probe will run out of energy. But it is buying him time to build more disruptors. And he's gone back to build a 4th at the alternate 3rd base location. Zealots try to attack the tanks from behind, but they get intercepted by the bio. Oh man, so many of those Phoenix are deep in the red. I feel like when they go down, all of a sudden it's going to be like all of them in a fleet. Could you imagine what an EMP could do for Seither right now? That Nexus is so low right now, I don't think it can take... No, it is gone. Spectacular. Probe pulls out and concedes the location. Seither is slowly shutting Probe down. Also, an interesting footnote here. Probe hasn't gone for a numeric upgrade the whole game. Not even +1 air attack. Oh, that's a critical pylon under assault. Yeah, all of the shield batteries become unpowered. Terran drops a scan and can see that Protoss is not looking so deadly. That might be because the Phoenix are eating him alive back home. He just lifted and killed 9 probes. Who cares if he has a missile turret? Terran is down to 31 workers. The Phoenix have just decided to take over the game. And Probe never even got a fleet beacon to completely upgrade them. Ooh, Seither's down to 22 SCVs now. He's gotta be wishing he left some Marines at home now. Oh hey, there's a little bit of that clipping we talked about earlier. With his Vikings giving him sight, Seither's tanks can shoot up into the main. But he might be a little busy beating back the Colossi. Oh, double Novas! Probe has just gone all Hulkamania here. He's like amped up and turning this game around. There's a huge momentum swing. Protoss is taking over this game. Terran is crumbling. Probe with the first supply lead in like forever. The Marines stim at the Phoenix. They've been wanting to do that for so long. Probe pulls back his Phoenix and gets his shield batteries to juice him right back up. Protoss is mining minerals at double the rate of the Terran player right now. Seither just doesn't have any SCVs. He's trying to remake them. The disruptor count is getting high. That robo's been working overtime. Seither's largely mining from just his third base. His push looked so powerful, and now it's petered out. Except for this one Terran Marauder. He's like, just leave this Protoss main to me, man. I'll take care of it. The Phoenix are like, hey, there's only 2 missile turrets here, guys. There's like 40 of us. Let's snack on SCVs. As long as they can keep rotating the hits, they'll be fine. Seither's down to 18 SCVs. Probe has dealt with Icarus the Marauder, but he pulled Probe out of position. Terran's gonna strike now. He's going after the disruptors. Who shoot back? Terran looks pretty all in on this one. He's got a good concave, but Protoss has the muscle now. And a bajillion Phoenix who joined the battle, and it's GG. A huge turnaround in Game 2. Let's Probe take the series. Not to be catty, but does anybody remember what the Terran victory screen looks like? It's been so long. I fear that Terran might be cursed on this channel right now. I think I'm gonna have to hold like a curse breaker challenge. Who will be the Terran who can finally get a victory for us? Maybe have to cast some Cure or Maru or something like that. Maybe some Clem. But anyway, Probe is the man who puts Pro in Protoss. I want to show you his incredibly sweet disruptor shots again. But before I do that, let me just quickly remind... Adjutant, what's the new schedule?
Sunday, 10 a.m. EST.
See? I could have a co-caster. I could do it.
But they would subscribe for me, not for you.
Yeah, that's probably true. Let's just get to those disruptor shots, okay? Okay, so this first one is the Protoss equivalent of a Baneling landmine. There's a disruptor camped out, waiting for the Terran to come through the acceleration zone. And he's got an observer in surveillance mode giving himself vision. And then this happens. Terran's 120 army supply just depopulates. It drops to 107. Now the disruptor dies, of course, but just before it does, it gets credited with 9 kills. Okay, so here it is again at 1/4 speed. I don't know what the record is for disruptor kills from a single shot, but this is the highest that I've ever seen. Now, as an added bonus, when Seither sees the disruptor, he thinks that's the front of the Protoss army, so he stims his entire army. All of his bio on a single control key drop into yellow just to get that disruptor. This is literally the moment where Probe starts a huge comeback. And then while I'm at it, here's the one that essentially seals the game. It's a triple, so yeah, you kind of expect it to be spectacular. And this, kids, is why you don't play with Daddy's disruptor. Charred bodies blown back in a heap. So one of the last things I need to cover off is to point out that this game was something of my apology to Probe. I recently cast a pretty awesome game with Probe in it, where he took on Rogue. If you haven't seen it, it's totally worth your time to check that one out. But in my thumbnail for the video, I replaced Probe's image with that of an attractive model. Our regular viewers all know that's something I do when I just can't find a photo for a player. Probe, though, is not exactly obscure, and I should have dug harder. An alert viewer by the name of Four Eyes called me on that, and he was right. That photo was available. So there you have it. I've gone and cast a proper series with Probe in it, and I've used a proper photo for the thumbnail. Oh, and lastly, I should say something about the Frost Giant news. If you haven't heard, the Starcraft community is pretty excited that some of the key people who worked on Starcraft 2 have left Blizzard to start a new company that is working on a high-level real-time strategy game. That's all I know, so attenuate your hype appropriately. If I must, I could learn to love again. But for now, at least, I intend to keep loving and enjoying the game that we have. So from my base to yours, Zugzwang out. To continue your StarCraft journey, Nova advises you to click the video in the upper rectangle. But Kerrigan warns you to watch your 6 and click the video in the bottom rectangle. Or you can stimpack your StarCraft experience. Subscribe to Zugzwang StarCraft. Just hit the circle. From my base to yours, Zugzwang out.